Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm here because apparently no one was presenting match of the day. I put myself forward.
Yeah, did they?
They did not take me up on it.
Really?
So I'm here.
They didn't take Joe Lycett up on it either.
It's quite shocking.
Yeah.
They have a lot of big names who've gone for it.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Graham.
Oh, yeah. He's outgrowing concrete, I think, at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
In his garden.
He's
just
absolutely against wood.
little concrete tree.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I know a lot of people who are against wood.
I think he got confused because of the old, concrete jungle adage. So I think he just genuinely thought...
You think Alicia Keys has just confused the shit out of him?
Another skyscraper. Where did that come from? Just sprouted out of the ground,
Just
right?
grew.
Yeah.
Just grew. Oh, another bollard.
Those people in Dubai, he thinks they must be amazing at growing tall buildings.
And they grow it in the desert.
Yeah.
It's an impressive place to grow things.
They grow islands.
They grow island.
Islands.
Oh, islands.
Yeah. Like
You meant
multiple.
like they were just making their own little island.
No, or they have. They've made
No,
islands.
but not like they haven't made their own Irish island, like a little Celtic island.
That's Ireland.
Yeah, that's what I thought they'd made their own island.
No, I'm talking about like an island.
They haven't just adopted a load of gingers over and.
I mean, they might have that. I
into
don't
field.
know. That's going into territory of conspiracy and dark conversations, really.
Is it dark? Are you saying it's a bad thing that if there was more island?
Well, no. What I'm saying
So I
is,
feel like we should tread
you
carefully.
were talking about trafficking gingers.
Oh no!
to the Middle East.
Asking them if they'd like to come and be part of New Island.
Right. Okay.
No.
What would their motivation be
bad.
for creating a new nation state of Ireland in the Middle East?
I'll grant you need to find a lot of people like me who just
And
go,
also-
yeah, all right then.
And also, I mean, the Irish complexion does not go with the sort of weather they'll be facing there.
No, what I figured New Ireland's probably got like a lid.
A lid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or a dome, maybe.
Yeah, like a dome, but not one of
Yeah.
them ones
Like a
that heats
giant
everything
Eden
up.
project sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Right, I feel you. I'm on board, look.
Sort of like, do you know, in The Simpsons when Mr. Burns blocks out the sun?
Yeah.
Sort of just like a big thing like that, like a big parasol.
Yeah, well, I
Just
mean, they've
over
got the
New
money to do
Ireland.
it.
Yeah.
They've got the money to do it.
Yeah, and they can probably grow the base of it.
Yeah.
Just a nice little concrete base.
Yeah. I mean, that will grow on its own anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take any work.
Yeah, halfway there.
Yeah. Right, I've sort of forgot what we were here to talk about. Jake, enlighten me.
Enlighten you.
Yeah.
Death is not always the end.
Really? I felt you were quite agnostic about...
I am, but when you
Spiritism
said
and-
enlightenment, when you asked for enlightenment, I didn't really know which other way to go.
I think you're taking me too literally. Do you know what I mean?
It was very literally. I don't
Yeah.
think I understood that at all.
No, when I say enlighten me, I mean, tell me what we're here to talk about, Jake.
Enlightenment?
We can if you want.
The betterment of the soul?
We can absolutely talk about those things.
We should talk about that stuff one day. Like, do you believe in souls and stuff?
Oh, I feel like I want to answer that now.
Do you know what I want to ask you? I want to say to you, though, I had an instinct then to say, you know, when we're like messaging each other and stuff,
Yeah.
you're like, save it for the pod. Save it for the pod. I'm like, technically, we are on the pod,
Yeah.
but what I want to mean is like, save it for a future pod.
Yeah.
Save it for the pod.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll move swiftly on from that. I won't answer that question yet.
And now it's just works as a great teaser for the rest of the season.
Yeah. People will be like, I need to know what he thinks.
Yeah, does he believe in souls?
Yeah.
I believe in soul. Get down, ba-ba-dum. I don't like the way you drank then to just stare me down.
I mean, it's quite delayed, but. Right,
No, let it run.
I didn't think it would
No,
go
let
for
it run.
quite- It's too
Let it
late
run.
now. I've signed it off. We'd have to sit through it all again. But no, Soul's all right. I mean, a bit of James Brown. Is that Soul?
Yeah,
Get on up.
he's the soul father. He's the soul father. He's the father of soul.
Father. Yeah, I've heard that on the grapevine.
Was the godfather of soul.
It's one of them. It's something to do with Soul.
Big Daddy Big.
Do you think he
Also
believed
there.
in Soul?
He definitely believed in it. He made
I
soul.
mean, isn't it in Korea?
In Korea. Oh, soul. Very
Yeah.
good. Very good. Thinking
So-
on your feet. And you see, that's another soul joke.
Is it?
Because the soles of your feet.
Right, yeah, sorry, that was
see,
too highbrow for
It
me.
was, you know, we are working on so many levels here. We should just we should just rename the podcast
I
to like
don't even know.
Car Park FC or something. We're just on so many levels.
I don't know what's happening.
Nor do I.
No.
What an intro.
Yeah, it's one of our better ones, I think. It's certainly. up
I
there.
don't think that bodes well. I don't think that reflects well.
Look, if we start peeling back the layers of the quality of the
And
podcast,
there are a lot of layers. We've established that.
I don't think we should do that anyway. I think we should just go ahead with the attitude we've had from the first episode, which is
Brilliant.
fuck everyone who's
We're
listening.
brilliant.
We're amazing.
Yep. Alex sends his regards, by the way.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
What did you see him today?
I did. He said,
Wow.
say Big, tell Big I love him. And I said, shall I tell him you'll be listening? And he went, oh yeah. Yeah.
I'll be listening. I've got him on speed dial. Do you know what I mean? He's listening in.
He's always listening. He's listening to this.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, it doesn't bode well when someone I've known for,
20 years.
plus years won't listen to the podcast unless he's been on it.
A man who is perpetually on his phone as well. That's the thing.
Yeah. Always listening to content or absorbing something.
Yeah, he'll go to
Just
sleep
hasn't
to
got the
fucking
time.
Harry Potter night after
But
night.
not
But
our
this,
dulcet tones.
what's wrong, Al? Is this not soothing enough? Do you not feel like you can sleep to this?
Maybe he feels like I'm
I just
too
want to apologise
closely
to your mum and your
related to
neighbours
Barry
where I
Scott.
shouted that. Yeah,
Like, because, we've just got the same surname.
and you both shout,
Yeah.
bang, just randomly. Walk into kitchens.
I say that randomly all the time. Walking past old ladies at work, just bang.
Do you know there was like half a second delay as well when you said, related to Barry Scott. Before my mind went, bang, and the dirt is gone. Part of it went, Barry White.
For any of our younger listeners, I was referencing a joke by a comedian, I believe it was Lee Evans, about him having the most scared children because there was an advert by a man called Barry Scott advertising Sillet Bang where he's like, bang, and the dirt was gone.
Yeah, no, for like half a second though, I was like, Barry White? Like, I picture Barry White.
Yeah.
Hello.
I mean, we've got similar figures, just sadly I don't have his soulful, soothing voice.
You could do.
I could, but I don't.
No, well, I guess we'll move on then.
Probably best. I mean, we're 10 minutes in, and I've asked once already what we're here to talk about, and we've just continued
I feel like there was, with the week that's just gone, I feel like there's only really one thing that certainly we could or should be discussing. Because I think
anal?
No, I think you don't discuss that, you just do it.
That's always been your motto.
Yeah, bit of lube, straight in.
Yeah.
No questions.
Is that giving and receiving?
Because the thing is, if you ask a question, you might get a no. Do you know what I mean? You're in.
All right, I'm going to have to stop you there. I feel we're approaching again quite dark, dangerous territory.
Because of the consequences.
The implications.
Yeah, because of the implications. She's not going to say no. I love that scene, by the way. It's one of my all-time favourite scenes.
I know.
I've completely blanked. Oh, right. I thought there was only one thing that we probably should be talking about. Probably people who listen to the last episode thinking, why weren't they talking about this? So let's talk about it.
Did it happen then? I don't feel like it was happening then.
It was no, when we last recorded it hadn't happened.
No.
But when the episode went out.
Right,
it had happened.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't always think of it in that timeline, if that makes sense.
No, well, one of us, not just a hat rack, my friend. Not just a hat rack.
So humble.
I'm pretty humble. It's my humility, I think, that really sets me apart from most other people.
Yeah, I think it's what takes the pod to another level. They just listen to it and they're like, that is one humble man. He deserves us listening every week.
And they're thinking he probably doesn't even know that because he's so humble.
Yeah.
But he probably has to be told that.
He thinks he's really vain, but actually deep down, he's super humble.
I don't think I'm vain. I think I'm very humble.
Yeah.
I would eat humble pie if I could.
I've heard you do. I heard you make it.
I make great humble pie, which is odd because I should be more humble about it. But
do you add cream really to that humble pie?
Always.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was going to say you always add cream to a pie, but but then what you wouldn't if it was a meat pie.
I mean, if you look at Joey Tribbiani's outlook on life,
meat, good.
Meat, custard, cream, it's all good.
Yeah.
And you just look, pastry goes with cream and custard. You just add in.
It just does. It's like in gravy. I'd try it.
Maybe we should try that on pod.
I would happily try that. I genuinely pies are phenomenal. I would happily try it. I bet it tastes nice.
Has to be like a Fray Bentos pie though, proper.
Go for it.
I've never had one either.
What, Fray Bentos?
No.
I don't think that's the way to have your first Fray Bentos.
Oh, with custard
and cream.
Well, look, we'll find out.
Yeah, later.
If people want us to do that, they need to comment on the video and let us know.
They need to comment on YouTube.
We need at least 3 comments.
Before you try a Fray Bentos and custard pie.
Yeah. Right, should we try for a third time, Jake?
I don't even know if this is 3.
Or for the several...
Why don't you enlighten me?
We're here to talk about Gary... I nearly said Gary Neville there.
That is a disgrace. That is unbelievable and unacceptable.
I'm pretty sure he probably said that after seeing what was going on. But no, we're here to talk about Gary Lineker and the BBC.
Yes. It felt only right.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely taken up. I mean, and probably people
Way too
listening
much
to
of the
this will
news
be
story.
like, oh, these guys are talking about it as well. So, well, yeah, we need stuff to talk about. Something big happened. We're going to talk about it. Plus, we talked a little bit about politics last week, but in general, we've not for a while. And I think just sort of unofficially, we've just been like, we want to keep things light-hearted. Things are pretty shit in general. It depresses us sometimes.
God, yeah.
Just
on
focusing
such a
on
big
what's
scale
going on.
sometimes.
So yeah, we will do it every now and again, but in general, I think politics is an every now and again thing when something big happens like this.
I mean, we only started the pod a few years ago, and yet when we started it wasn't such a depressing thing.
No.
To be discussing.
I mean, and we discussed some depressing subjects like homelessness, mental health, and it never felt...
At the moment, politics just is always bleak.
Yeah.
It's always bleak.
Yeah.
I would even say that bleak enough that some of the language used by the government recently is reminiscent of that of 1930s
That was really
Germany.
classy, bro. I heard that. I bet the audience did too.
Well,
I'm
you
not
don't
editing
need
that
to
out.
draw attention to it. It's fine. Nothing happened.
No.
No, my body is
Jake just got an
perfectly
erection, that
functional.
was all.
A semi. I know you look at it and you think that must be fully erect.
Look, not everyone
There's more to
can,
come, my man.
I know, I've seen it before.
Just told you before. Good lighting, good angles. They're your friends.
Oh, absolutely. You got to get a whole crew in. There's like a fan going. I don't know why the fan's going, but it's going.
No, but you know, it's always nice when a fan turns up.
Backlighting, front lighting, side lighting, top lighting.
But it's genuinely, I've had some nice compliments based, and all I think every time it comes back, like positivity comes back, is
What,
if
from
only,
a dick pic?
it's like if only you knew.
Is this to do with a dick pic, or
Yeah,
how often do you send dick pics? Have we
Not-
had this
not
conversation
often.
before?
not often.
Are they
Only when
unsolicited?
asked.
Oh, I was
Only
gonna
when
say,
asked.
When was the last time you sent one?
A couple of months ago.
No, you little slut.
I know, and when I know, the thing is, when it because we never ended up doing anything together,
Yeah.
and but when it came back and it was like really nice, positive.
Oh, good for you.
On the one hand, I felt really nice, but on the other hand, I was like, it's all lies. It's like that is good lighting, good angle.
Everyone, you never just take a candid dick pic, do you? It's
Absolute
all
mistake. Absolute
I don't know
amateur
if
hour.
does any man do that? Only idiots, sure.
I would say it's probably the photo we take most care to get right.
Yeah.
You know, I know there's a lot of people who are quite into like the gram,
Yeah.
and if they take a selfie, like a sunset selfie,
Did
or
you
something,
put a filter on it? On the piece?
yeah, it was a bit weird, like bunny ears and all that, but the gender swap was fun.
Do you pull back the Mons pube? Do you know what I mean?
Little,
You know, got to get the
Give it
inner
the-
dick out as well.
give it the old Bobby Charlton.
What's the Bobby Joel?
Little comb over.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm so sorry. That image amused me so much, and now I wanted to
I
put it
never
in all
knew
in
it
your
was
head.
referred to as the Bobby Charlton, though.
Oh, I've just called it that.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. He's just the most famous comb over I can think of.
Yeah. Is he still a comb over? I feel like he would have lost
Fucking
his
not
now.
now. Like 90 years old or whatever.
Right.
We're still on football though, so we're kind of like we're still topic adjacent.
Yeah. We went from Gary Lineker to dick pics to Bobby Charlton.
So we're kind of like we're bringing it back round. Bobby Charlton's
Full
probably going to be
circle.
very upset that he was tangented from dick pics.
Well, as we know, he listens every week.
Alright, that he does. Big fan.
Yeah.
We'll check it. If we get a listener from Manchester.
It has to be Bobby Charlton. Couldn't be anyone else.
No. And we call him Mr. No, we won't call him anything. I was going to say Mr. Comb Over, but
That's really
he's achieved quite a lot and I
disrespectful.
don't want to disrespect him.
Didn't he win a World Cup?
Did win a World Cup.
It's very disrespectful.
Did win a World Cup.
Yeah.
He's won pretty much everything he's played in.
Yeah.
That again, that's not what we're here to talk about. That's not what we're here to... Do you know what? I feel like we're just skirting around it because it's so ridiculous, the issue, right?
It is. So for
It's
anyone that
Dominated the news.
doesn't know what happened, and I'd be surprised if they didn't, Gary Lineker put a tweet out on Twitter, obviously, comparing the recent language and immigration bill from Braverman and the Conservatives in general to rhetoric and language used in the 30s in Germany.
Yeah.
That was then...
in particular, the dehumanisation and the villainisation, not even
of
sure that's
migrants.
a word, of a minority group of migrant workers.
Yeah. Of people trying to come to this country, fleeing.
Migrants, but specifically migrants making the crossing on a boat.
Yeah. And that has been conflated into him using inflammatory language, like using Nazis, like it was put in headlines. No, which he never used.
And also then it was then the BBC sort of said, well, you've breached impartiality.
Yeah.
So we're going to ask you to step back from match of the day for the week for the weekend of the 11th of March.
I mean, what I think probably happened was the tweet went out, there was a big furore, and the BBC asked him to apologise. And I reckon he's probably gone,
I'm not apologise because he's got nothing to apologise.
Well, no, because he's also, absolutely
the
right.
the main thing, and I think the issues get dissected, and obviously there's been a lot of talk of like impartiality and whatever, but let's be clear, by definition, the truth is impartial.
Yeah.
He was speaking for, if you compare them, there are a number of similarities.
And like, look, even quite prominent, like there's a Holocaust survivor that has since come out and said that he was spot on.
We've mentioned it on here a few weeks ago, a few episodes back, and you can find those in any good podcast places.
Nice plug.
We said before I mentioned that there was an event, a Holocaust survivor who was a young child, well, obviously at the time.
It was a while ago.
The age gives it away. Actually stood up at a Q&A at an event which Suella Braverman was hosting, and challenged her and said that the language you are using now is similar to the language that was used that eventually led to my people being wiped out en masse. And she said, you are using dangerous language, and I would like you to apologise for using it and stop using it. And Suella Braverman went, I'm not going to say sorry, and I'm not going to stop using it. And Suella Braverman, did you see her numbers, by the way? Her fucking made-up bullshit numbers in the article she wrote. She said there are hundreds of thousands of displaced people around the world.
Yeah.
Technically true. Most of them the majority of displaced people stay in their own country.
Yeah.
The second biggest group of percentage of people tend to stay in neighbouring countries. But she said, so like, yes, technically there are hundreds of thousands of people, but they're in no way anyway. So anyway, she's hundreds of thousands of people discrossed, and she said there could be, hundreds of millions more.
Wasn't it billions, actually, she said, wasn't it? She
certainly said hundreds, and she might have said billion, but she certainly said 100 million.
Because I think Susanna Reid called her out for it on television for saying that billions more will want to come here, and she's
like, actually, it's like 45,000 people.
It's incredibly misleading.
Is the number that will come here?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's a hell of a jump to go from 45,000 to hundreds of millions, possibly even billions. And you think that's a huge jump. And then you're talking about, and also there's this whole thing about the government keep talking about how trying to whip up fear by telling us that we're going to end up with
an invasion,
criminals and rapists, and they're the ones that are coming in unvetted.
Yeah.
And you think, well, hang on, we weren't that concerned about getting all the criminals and the rapists from Ukraine.
No.
Or when we were taking those guys in.
John Barnes has made, essentially, isn't it?
It's about, his whole thing was, there are certain groups that we deem okay.
Yeah.
They're refugees, but they're okay.
It's weird because I feel like, because the two prominent faces of what's going on at the moment, one is Braverman, the other being Sunak as he's PM, are both of foreign heritage. They're both from, I would imagine,
it's proper
South Asian.
It's proper, I'm all right, Jack, pull the ladder up.
Yeah.
It proper
but
is.
I feel like they think, because they are who they are, that it somehow means it's not racism, that it's not bigotry, that it's not...
I said to you before, not to just sit here and play the whole I told you so cards, but I said to you before, maybe a year ago or so, I think I said to you, we were probably 2 or 3 prime ministers back and about 8 chancellors.
Yeah.
But I said to you, I said, the really dangerous thing that the right are doing at the moment in this country, more than, where it's most prominent for us, is they are using people of colour, i.e. brown people and black people, that is to say Rishi Sunak, Suella Braverman, Kemi
Priti
Badenoch,
Patel.
Priti Patel. In fact, it might have been Priti Patel at the time we were
It
talking
probably
about.
was.
And I said, they're using people like that to make all these racist policies and racist, push racist agendas and messages. And so that they can defend and go, well, hang on a minute, you're accusing the brown guy of racism. And it's like, yeah, I am. Like, forget your bullshit that you're doing right here, putting a black face on it or a brown face on it. Yes, that's exactly what this is.
At the very least, it's classist, isn't it? And like you say, putting the ladder up because they're in a privileged position. They're fine. They're in air quotes the good ones. What they don't want is the unwashed coming in. Yeah, as they would probably put it.
And the Gary Lineker thing as well, with him being suspended. Personally, the BBC have played this horrendously, because if they really did nothing and they said nothing, no one would have cared. There'd have been a very small number of people calling for his head, but I promise you that they call for his head every week.
Yeah.
They're just people who are like, Gary Lineker's left-wing woke bloody,
Yeah.
Also, by the way, and I will circle back to this, but very interesting to see the old freedom of speech, cancel culture groups take on all of this, isn't it?
I've not really...
But, well, that's the point. They've not been out in force in the same way they have for previous issues. But the thing with his impartiality thing is, you look at Andrew Neil, who was a prominent political figure on...
Doesn't he run The Spectator?
He runs The Spectator, and he now hosts... he hosts a show on Channel 4, but he also hosts a load of stuff on, like, is it Talk TV or GBB's? One of them. Yeah. Well, him.
Yeah.
You've got Alan Sugar.
Yeah.
Who was 4 years ago, openly calling for people to vote for Boris Johnson because anything to keep that Starmer out. Starmer will ruin this country. Yeah. Keep him out. Not Starmer, Corbyn. Yeah. Anything Corbyn ruins, keep him out. Vote for Boris. You think, well, hang on a minute, that's... And Chris Packham, who is... I'm a big fan of Chris Packham, by the way.
I don't know if I know who Chris Packham is.
He's a wildlife expert.
Okay.
But what he's been doing more recently is documentaries on autism, because he's diagnosed autistic.
Okay.
And so he's been kind of exploring that for, because he's well aware that there's not a lot out there and that the message is non-existent. People don't know how to deal with people who are autistic. So he's been kind of working on that. He's a wildlife expert at hand, and a lot of the stuff he does is obviously pro...
I've probably seen him.
Pro climate change policies. It's about advocating for greener, more sustainable. Yeah. Anyway, Andrew Neil and Lord Sugar have all been accused of... Well, him and Andrew Neil in particular were accused, had a number of complaints come in over something they did on Twitter. And it was specifically Twitter, because we could make direct comparisons. You've seen the email, right? Saying, look, and the BBC said, look, these are freelance presenters. They work for other companies, and their social media is theirs on their own. Yeah. We think it's pretty obvious there's no link. It's theirs. There's no link to the BBC. Well, hang on, why is... And the only thing you're left to deal with is it because it's attacking our government? Who, by the way, and like I said, I'll let I'm well aware I'm monologuing here, and I'll let you speak.
That's absolutely fine, bro.
But this is the BBC, who have been fucking infiltrated and co-opted by the right, because you're looking at the Director General, Tim Davie, who ran as a Conservative MP, failed in that election, but ran as a Conservative MP.
Has donated 400 grand to the Conservative a lot of money. Party.
And the chairman, who we've discussed recently as a few weeks ago, Richard Sharp, who facilitated an £800,000 loan for then Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who was the one who appointed him, who's donated, I think he's donated like £400,000 to the Conservative Party. And who sat in, by the way, I know we said at the time, that no one... Not since the BBC first set themselves up
it was the
as a chairman, sat on the appointment board for head of news.
Yeah.
But he did. And you think, so, is it, like I said, it's really obvious that it seems to be less about impartiality, more about what you're
I
impartial.
almost feel like, because I feel like it started a little while ago, sort of, and I remember it because it was sort of coming from people like Nadine Dorries.
Genius.
Of like,
Genius woman.
calling out the BBC, Channel 4 for not being impartial and all of this. And I wonder whether the BBC then sort of opened itself up to influence, if that makes sense, and have just, it's gone too far. Because the BBC is a huge thing. It's iconic. It goes back as far as entertainment does in this country. And it's held up and has been held up over the years as a sort of, in a lot of ways, a bastion for what a news organisation should be. And it's really worrying how quickly that's turned, and how obviously it's turned.
It has been co-opted. I mean, if you watch, I'm not a massive fan of it, but any time I've watched Question Time since Fiona Bruce has taken over, first of all, ignore the fact that they have a lot more conservative people in, because the argument could be made, okay, well, the right-wing people are in, argument could be made that we have a right-wing government, therefore the most popular party is. But what she does is she will cut off the left-wing and the centrist guests
to let the right
a lot quicker than she will with the right. She'll just let them roll. And did you see her defending the accusation against Stanley Johnson?
Oh, that he only hit his missus once.
Yeah, because the woman went, well, because
he broke
should he have a,
nose.
and he went, yeah, well, I don't think anyone who, he's a wife beater. Of course he should have it.
I know
and she
the lady
just
you're
went,
talking about. She's on Jeremy Vine and stuff.
Is
I'm not
she?
normally
Yeah.
her biggest fan,
No,
to be honest with
but
you.
she was bang on there.
No,
and Fiona
absolutely.
Bruce went, and she literally jumped straight and went, no, hang on,
Just for balance.
just for balance. Yes, it happened, and it's widely acknowledged that it happened. His friend said it
He's
happened,
never
or whatever.
acknowledged it.
He's never said it, but yes, his friend said it happened. She said it happened. They, there's not
He
been
broke
any
his
denials
wife's
from
nose.
it. But he did only do it. It was a one-off, and it's like, mate, the fuck are you doing defending that? Like, because
And
that's how it comes across.
Look,
It's
I'm
not
gonna be
impartial.
really honest
That's
here.
defence.
Anyone who hits their wife once has done it more than once.
That's the thing. Even if you only hit them once, they're living in fear.
And like, look, it's not a stretch to believe, especially considering the accusations against Boris Johnson whilst he was Prime Minister.
But my point is, she's, when you watch Laura Kuenssberg, it's a very similar thing. Like, there's a lot more time gets given to the right, and you're a lot quicker to cut off and question and really hold the left to account. Whereas the right is kind of like, they say some waffle nonsense that doesn't answer the question, and she's like, okay, well, we'll move on.
Yeah. But anytime you actually point out something that's happened, fact or true, they just don't want to hear it, and it's not given any real validity at all.
Yeah, and that's been happening for the last few years on issues like Brexit, probably more than any other issue.
Yeah.
But
it's a really weird time at the moment, and I'm sort of wrestling with why this is happening, because the Conservatives must be doing this for a reason.
It's desperation. They know how they're polling.
But the thing is, I mean, for a start, it's not working. It's going the other way, isn't it? Like, Sunak's position's actually got worse from a poll that I've seen today.
I mean, Sunak's kept his hands relatively clean. But what happened? Do you remember?
Do you remember
a couple of years ago, and it was just, the news was just non-stop changing. It was like, Christ, how's that only been a week? And I feel like that now, because it was only a week ago that we were talking about the leaked WhatsApp messages.
Yeah.
And now here we are.
And it does make you wonder, and I hadn't even thought about that, actually.
It's
to
a
be
nice
honest.
distraction, right?
Exactly. And on top of that, everything that's been going on with Brexit, like the fact Rishi Sunak went on television and was boasting about the unique and amazing position Northern Ireland's in, because it has access to the single market and the UK market. And he was like, it's the envy of the world. Everyone wants it.
If only there was a way we could have
that. And it was just like, we're living in this world now. And it's just, I don't even know what the words are for it, to be honest with you. And like, but the thing is, I wrestle with the idea of, does this actually work? Like, are people behind what they're, like, are people supportive? How many people are supportive of what the Conservatives are doing? Because it must be enough of a number for them to think it could have an effect. Do you know what I mean? Or are they, because, desperation makes sense, but it doesn't. Like, I don't know. It would have made more sense for me as just a normal person, that if I was Rishi Sunak stepping into the role of PM after everything that's happened with the Conservatives, to try and distance myself as far from possible from the image of what the Conservatives have become, which is inept, not very caring, completely against the working class. And it feels like, if anything, they've gone even more extreme and are now going for race baiting bullshit, and they think they can get away with it for no other reason than there's two brown people.
It's just so it's so divisive, and it's all they've got left.
Yeah,
it's all they've got left, because they know that come the next election,
they're going to be out on their arse.
They're going to be out. I mean,
and the thing is, from the looks of things, it's not just going to be a case of they're going to lose. It's going to be potentially horrific, isn't it, for them? In terms of, like, they're going to go from the largest win in a very long time since
the thing is, though, that largest win thing, that was 2 prime ministers ago. Not even the last guy.
And it wasn't even that long ago.
That was 2 prime ministers ago. So, I mean, I know you and I have said this for a while. It's like that we should have had a general election now. To get through one, you know, to replace the prime minister one time is bad enough, because it's like, well, people didn't vote for that. But okay, you know, whatever, it's still the same part.
Yeah.
To get through 2, clearly that's being mishandled. Clearly the party's not doing well. Clearly the people did not vote for this government.
No.
And at the next election, they'll find out exactly how little people vote for this government. All the gains they made in 2019,
gone. I really hope so.
All that red wall bollocks, gone.
As you know, and I've said on this pod, my faith in the general public of this country has been massively damaged, because we are easily led, and we've shown that with Brexit. And I hold my hands up.
The beautiful thing is for me, the 2 biggest cornerstones of the British culture are football and alcohol. And to attack either of those is to wage war against the public.
Yeah.
And do you remember a couple of years ago with the whole Marcus Rashford thing? And it's like, I mean, you took on a footballer. You didn't even take on football. You just took on a footballer, and it went horrendously. Well, now you're taking on football.
Do you think that's because of is it a mixture of, because in both
might as well
situations,
put limits on how much wine we can all drink and just really piss us all off.
We're talking about is like, so with Rashford, he was calling out the government for not looking after underprivileged children, and was personally doing good work to help underprivileged children. And then in this situation, you've got Gary Lineker, who puts up refugees in his house.
I think they're scared of Lineker.
I think you're right. I think they are.
Because I mean, also when you look at the guidelines, one of the guidelines actually says on impartiality is it talks about high risk and low risk, and it says low risk areas of breach and impartiality are where a presenter talks about an issue that is not related to their specific genre, and then it gives 2 examples. It says, well, one example. It says, so for example, a sports broadcaster or an arts broadcaster talking about politics or science are low risk.
Okay. So even under their category, it's not actually a problem.
So to be fair, that rule in the impartiality rule under the BBC's guidelines, it's not saying that Gary Lineker didn't break impartiality, but it does categorise it under its own guidelines as low risk for breaching impartiality.
But
not to say it still can't do it.
By their own precedent they've set with their responses to complaints about other people in more or less the same position as Gary Lineker, maybe not with the same Alan Sugar, you could not the same reach, you know, that, but they've set a precedent of their independent freelance people. But the question I was trying to ask was about, so with Gary Lineker and Marcus Rashford, they were both doing good things, whereas if they weren't actually good people, I don't know whether it would have had the same level of support.
No, it would have had the same weight.
No.
Behind their words.
But it is amazing that the government and the media in general, and they are working in lockstep. It's impossible to look at what's happened in the last week. It feels like the perfect sort of microcosm to go, look, there's an issue here for the government. The media does everything it can to help them and make the other side be the villain.
Vilify. Villainisation, I was saying earlier. Vilify.
Villainisation's not bad. I know what you meant. But yeah, it's a really difficult situation and a really confusing one, because for anyone paying attention, there's nothing in what he said that is actually inflammatory. What is inflammatory is what he's shining a light on, and I think that's the shame about what's happened, because instead of talking about how despicable this government's being, we've had to talk about a football presenter who's just...
I think, and I will move on to the football in a minute, but I also want to say that I think when you look at the bill that's gone through, I think the biggest thing that I'm like, look, fundamentally I disagree with all of it. I'm not, that's no secret. I don't think that's anyone's listening to this going, really? Oh, I'm very, very shocked.
And like, look, you've even got personal experience of seeing because people talk about, well, they're in France, they're safe. You've seen for yourself firsthand the conditions all of these people that are in France are living in. Very few, it sounds to me like very few of them are integrated. They're in arguably as bad a state as they would have been if they stayed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but the one thing that I thought, reading through the highlights of the bill kind of thing, that I was like, surely even the right wing must think, well, no, that's probably a bit, that's probably the one, I'll say it in a second, that's probably the one that makes them have the Mitchell and Webb thing of like, are we the baddies? the whole thing of taking away protection from modern slavery. So part of the bill is, if you come over here, basically, let's just take a hypothetical, if a young woman is abducted and sent into this country, so taken on a boat into this country as a slave, let's say the likelihood is sex work in this hypothetical.
Yeah.
And then they're found and whatever. She's been dragged over here against her will. She's been living in slave. She's a slave.
It won't be good.
She will not. She now loses any protection that she has.
So what will they just
under this new bill? Yeah, she'll get deported back with the people who trafficked her. And they've literally got it on the poster. It literally says no more legal rights for victims of modern slavery. And it's like, surely that's the one.
It's absurd.
That even makes you think, that's probably a bit too far, isn't it? All the other points I could debate.
The thing is, I feel like in this country, not in general maybe, but I think we got to definitely a position of being isolationists. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think when you do that, whether it's someone from the Middle East, France, we just don't see them as the same value as we see ourselves. So I think people on the right, with particularly the extreme right, and I would think anyone supporting the bill would have to fall into that category, because I don't know what other category you could fit into. But it's fucked. And I don't know, I didn't know it was as extreme as that. Like the idea that someone, even the fact that
while you talk, I'll see
in
if I can
today's
find
society, or in today in general, for there to still be a possibility of becoming a slave and to be sex trafficked, and to think that someone who's been through that doesn't deserve to be looked after and helped. And even with migrants in general, to be coming from war-torn countries and to feel desperate enough to have to risk your life, your children's lives, to get on an unsafe vessel and cross the channel to try and come here, knowing people have died trying to do it, knowing how dangerous it is, to look at these people as subhuman or unimportant, it baffles me. Because I guarantee if our country suddenly became embroiled in a situation where it was no longer safe to be here for whatever reason, whether it was civil war, nuclear war, famine, whatever it is, we'd soon be looking at everyone around us saying, take us in. So to actually believe that this is the right thing to do.
Okay, so this is literally from Rishi Sunak's account. And it says here, I'm just going to show it to my co-host here. This is a picture that tweeted from Rishi Sunak's account with regards to the bill.
Jesus. The thing is, they're not... Even the way that's worded is mad, because it's saying if you've come here illegally, they've not chosen to... If they've been captured and brought over here and put into sex or any form of slavery, they haven't chosen to come here, have they?
And I'd like to make one more point before we move on to the football side of it, and you can feel free to make as many as you like before we move on to the more football side of it. It's not illegal to come here.
No.
Okay. When it becomes illegal, this is just to be very clear on this, because I think a lot of people don't understand, and they talk about people coming in illegally and all this. When it becomes illegal is when a person's claim is processed, and if they are denied,
Right.
then they have come here illegally. But if
Okay.
but just to arrive on the shores,
Isn't illegal.
at that point it's not illegal. It's only once we process their claim and
if we
decide
believe they're not
you are now not a
and
genuine
deserving,
asylum. Yeah, you are not a genuine refugee
you don't
seeker.
meet, not deserving, you don't meet the
You
criteria,
don't meet the
for
criteria. But
asylum.
actually, most do, because most are genuine asylum seekers.
Of course they are.
And look, there are a lot that aren't,
there will
but
always
most
be
of them are.
outliers, scumbags, and all those things. We have them, and they're born here as well.
And the reason that
But to believe someone coming from, and they're coming from all over the globe, from all sorts of situations, and quite a few of these situations we've caused or exacerbated or be involved in, to then try and rinse our hands and wash our hands of all of it and just see these people as not our problem. And like, one of the things I heard was that we're going to be giving the French hundreds of millions and building detention centres in France to deal with these people. And this isn't similar to what Germany was doing through the 30s and 40s.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, migrants are more likely than people who were born here, I should say, to pay taxes and to work and to contribute to the economy. And we also have a labour shortage right now. So
the thing
we
is,
could really do with that.
anyone who lives in the real world or who's done a real day's work will know from the people that are around them in the workplace. Anyone who's from I genuinely have never really met anyone from another country who doesn't come here not to work hard.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
And we've made the application process laboriously long and slow and drawn out.
Yeah.
And furthermore, damn it, my mind
I know, I hate it
just
when that
stopped.
happens.
But so we've made it really slow. And furthermore, we've closed most people
All legal routes.
don't have access to be able, look. Therefore, it's
All safe
easier for them
routes.
to get here and say, "Can we stay?" Because we've closed all the options for them to go, "Can I come?"
Yeah,
To kind of really simplify it down.
yeah.
But anyway, that's the last I've got to say on it. Is there any more you want to say before we move on to the football?
No, I'm fine with that. The only thing I was going to say was, one of the examples was, I worked with a guy from Sri Lanka, and he got put in jail in Sri Lanka for doing a hunger strike against their government. And there's been, I think there's still ongoing issues in Sri Lanka, a lot of which were caused by us being in control of Sri Lanka and then pulling out.
Our pull-out game's weak, bro.
Absolutely. And so he was put in jail.
We should have worn protection when we fucked the world.
Yeah. He was put in prison for 2 years for doing a hunger strike out of their version of the Houses of Parliament, basically out of their government, outside of their government building. He was then deported to here because the Sri Lankan government were like, well, it's the Brits' fault that we're having these issues, so you can have them. And he was deported with another guy that also worked for me as well. Couldn't speak a word of English, worked 3 jobs, learned English, has settled here, has 3 children, still works 3 jobs to this day, and is honestly one of the hardest working person I've ever met. And I found that inspiring.
Yeah.
He didn't want anyone to feel sorry for him, didn't want handouts, just wanted to work hard.
He's just worked the
raise his
hand he's
family.
dealt.
Yeah. He wasn't angry. Like, the thing is, it would have been very easy for someone like that to actually be angry
bitter,
at this country and to be like, I've now got nothing because of the shit this country's done in other countries. But he didn't. He got on with it, wanted to. And that, I have no doubt in my mind that the vast majority of the people that want to come here would just like the opportunity to do the same.
Yeah. Have you got a round of applause lined up, please, sir?
I can.
If you could please ring us in with a round of applause. That goes, first of all, to Righty, to Mr. Ian Wright.
Yes.
Second to Alan Shearer.
Yep.
Then all the others that followed suit. Alex Scott. Well, I'll move on to Alex Scott and Jason Mohammed, but Jermaine Genus, all of those.
All of them.
And
even Clem Murray.
And all the commentators.
Yeah.
Who pulled out. And so all of these people, for those who don't know, Ian Wright, big pundit on Match of the Day, big flagship pundit, turned around and said,
absolute
look,
legend.
He said, in a tweet, he said, everyone knows how much I love Match of the Day and how much it means to me, but I'm not going to do it out of solidarity with Gary. As long as Gary's not there, I'm not there. Alan Shearer came out and said a similar thing. much more concise, much less passionate,
Yeah.
which sort of quite accurately sums up their analysis,
Yeah.
punditry styles. And then everyone pulled out. Jermaine Genius was doing the One Show at the time.
What did you think when that was happening?
What about them?
When it was all just because it sort of just it was like a domino effect, wasn't it?
I just remember thinking
going.
like, yes, bang on. Let's leave them with no one to fucking present it. And then when the commentators were speaking to union reps on the Friday night, they said, look, they released this blanket statement that said we're also going to stand in solidarity.
Yeah.
And so they showed match of the day. They didn't call it match of the day. They just called it
even
football
the PFA.
Highlights. PFA said that players are not going to speak to.
Yeah, we've asked
match
the players not to speak to any match of the day. Do any interviews. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I've absolutely loved it. They took on football, and this is the problem. Alex Scott, like I said, Alex Scott pulled out and said because she was due to present Football Focus.
Yeah,
she said, "Well, I'm not going to be a part of any of this while Gary Lineker's suspended while this whole thing's going on." Jason Mohammed, who presents Final Score, which is essentially the BBC's version of Soccer Saturday. That starts on the red button and then about 4:30ish it moves on to the main channel. I don't think
I've ever watched it, to be fair.
I've watched it a few times, but he said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not. So they didn't have any football. So they just pulled those programs. No Final Score, no Football Focus.
Yeah.
Match of the Day was shown back to back, just game. Now, can I just say, I watched the first game and then like the first 10 seconds or whatever the second game.
Yeah.
Because I was curious and I was out Saturday night. God, this sounds like I'm making an excuse. I was out Saturday night, and when I got in, it was literally just starting as I turned on the TV.
But it was 20 past 10.
It was still on that.
Where were you on
It was
Saturday
still on
night,
that channel.
You dirty bastard.
I went out to a comedy show.
Did you really? Who'd you go and see?
I went out to see Dara Breen.
Very nice.
He was very good.
I can imagine.
He was very good. Very revealing. It was a very revealing show.
Okay.
It's a very open show.
Nice. No, I like Dara Breen. I don't think I've ever actually seen his stand up. I've just always seen him as a presenter or on panel shows.
Yeah.
Very likeable.
Likeable. No, very, very funny.
But sorry, I stopped your train of thought.
So I literally got home and it was literally maybe like I didn't turn on and it was just starting. Like the game was.
It was on.
But it was so clearly the first game because it was. Oh well, I'll get into which game it was. We don't want to date it too much, although the whole issue's date it in general.
Yeah.
But. So I stayed and I was just like, okay, I'm actually curious how they just... And it just literally came up with the Match of the Day logo that did a Premier League highlights and then it started the next game and then it just moved on. Now, I'll be honest, I missed the commentary.
Yeah.
But that's actually how I watch Match of the Day. I skip through the punditry and the analysis. So for me...
Yeah.
That's actually the perfect way to watch it. However, I stand in solidarity with the... Because it is a skill...
Yeah,
and they are very good at it. The ones that are very good at it,
and
but
look,
it's not for me. I don't like. There's too much talking about football for me.
Yeah, I mean, I will watch the commentary because there's certain games where, if it's been a really interesting game and a lot's gone on, I'll be like, oh, actually, I'd like to see a breakdown of what was going on with that and see their opinions and stuff like that. But in general, yeah, like you, I would skip through and just watch the football.
There are some games where if there's been a bit of an upset. Or if one team's done exceptionally well,
or if it's been like a 3-3, or if there's been,
or if there's been a turnaround in fortunes, if a team's not been doing well and suddenly they start doing well, I will sometimes, not often, I will
to
sometimes
see what the difference was.
Yeah, just to see whether they pick out and they go, look, it's what this player's doing. He wasn't doing it before, or they say the formation. You know, before when they were off the ball, they would like this, and you kind of watch it, and you I would have never have thought of it myself, but you watch it and you go, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. That's really working. So kind of that, but occasionally, and I'm more inclined to do it for Palace games. Obviously, as a Palace fan, I'm more inclined to watch the analysis.
Sometimes watch the manager talking after the Palace game and stuff like that. But in general, I'll tend to skip through.
But what did you make of it all?
I was really blown away, to be honest. I was really taken back by
Gary
it.
Lineker.
Yeah. I sort of see it as more than that, though, and I see it as beyond football as well. I like to think it's beyond football. That I feel like we've genuinely got to a point where people have gone, nah, this is enough, man. Like, you can't keep doing this. You can't keep just spinning a narrative when everything is pointing in the other direction. And especially, like, if Gary had actually used the word Nazis and things like that, even then I don't actually think it's deserving of him losing his job. But I could understand the argument that was inflammatory language and, you know, But Gary Lineker is a very intelligent man, and he danced the line quite well, and he's a very thoughtful man. But it speaks definitely to who he is as a person, that so many people thought so much of him and were willing to put potentially their own jobs on the line.
Yeah.
Because the BBC, if they wanted to, could have really
cut ties with everyone.
Yeah, and
reshuffle.
really like just gone for something different. I think it would have been a mistake to do that, but they could have done it.
They were in quite deep at that point. I don't think they'd have doubled down already. Like they'd already kind of they were not gonna. It was a PR nightmare.
But I think once the big people have done it, it makes it easier for the people.
Yeah, the people further down the chain.
It's such a huge moment, and I'd like to think it going forward, it could embolden people outside of football when these sort of things start to happen, that more of us step up and refuse to accept these things happening.
Well, I love the fact that first, there is this kind of like hooligan, thuggish, Neanderthal opinion of football fans.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that, we were like, we all stood in solidarity, and I
think the vast majority, there would have definitely been...
Because there's tribalism in football,
yeah.
I don't think the government, and when I say the government, the BBC, I'm using them interchangeably at this point, just for this section of the conversation. I don't think, because of the tribalism and stuff, I don't think they'd have foreseen such a huge solidarity, because at the end of the day, we kind of were like, no, we're football fans. You don't get it, when we're playing football, you're a such and such fan, and I'm a such and such fan, and obviously when we're playing international, it's like, no, we're England and you're... But right now... We're football fans, and you're coming after
football. The only
football.
time we've ever seen that before was when they tried to introduce a Super League. That was the last time we saw anything similar to this, where just all fans were just like, no.
This is wrong.
You can't do this. And like, I think the other problem for the BBC, Match of the Day is so iconic, and Gary Lineker's been doing it for a very long time now and done it well. And do you know what? It's such a small thing. But if anyone wants to know the sort of person Gary Lineker is, there was footage of him on Twitter coming out of his house to go and walk his dog. And he's walking across the road, and he just said, look, I'm really sorry, I can't talk to you right now. But the bit that really got to me was they're harassing him. Well, not harassing him, but
there are pictures, cameras in his face.
He's got shit's going down. And he just says
to him, to go down.
And he just says to him, just be careful, like, don't get hit by a car. Like,
because one of them, he's like, you're standing in the middle of the road.
Yeah, he was like, just be
aware you're in the middle of the road and you might get hit.
Yeah, and I was just like, for all this to be going on, and he can still find a second to be a compassionate human being and not be angry at them and just be like...
Shows that compassion is actually quite easy if we really want to.
Yeah, it's not that difficult. Because the thing is, Gary... must have. I personally, I was surprised.
Admittedly, it's very hypocritical for me to be sitting here talking about how good it is to have compassion, knowing full well how I treat large groups of people on this podcast.
Yeah, but no, the thing is, we do that jovially. I like to think in general.
Oh, do we?
We are quite.
We don't mean that stuff.
Sort of mean it, but
it's like an undertone.
We are naturally. I might not be quite as compassionate as Gary Lineker is. I might not respond to that sort of attention with the same grace and understanding as he did.
That's a good word, grace. There was a certain sense of grace and decorum.
And I feel like he does that in general. Whenever you see him speak on any subject, it's never like, even the way he spoke about the Conservatives and their language, he could have used more inflammatory language, but he chose not to.
Have you ever seen him talk about his rules for tweeting?
No.
He doesn't tweet when he's angry. And then he kind of joked and went, to be honest, I never really get angry. He says that one very rarely applies. That. And he went, I get upset. He says, but I don't get angry. And then he kind of jokes and he says, you're looking at a man who played professional football for, 20 odd years and never got booked. So angry is not really in my repertoire. He's like, no, never tweet when I'm angry. He says, if there's even 1% of doubt about what I'm about to tweet, I don't tweet it. And I can't remember the third rule, but they're kind of in that vein, he doesn't just tweet whatever thought pops into his head. That's kind of the point.
What do you think about the final outcome? Have you seen it?
The BBC have apologised, right? They've released a statement
saying I didn't see the apology. I don't know.
It was due. I haven't seen the apology, but a statement was due, and it was expected to be. But
basically, he's just been reinstated.
Yeah, he had to be. There was only one outcome.
Well, I've got to be honest with you. I thought they'd end up sacking him because I thought in my head I was like, he's not going to apologise because he shouldn't. And if he apologises, people are going to think less of him. And I think that's the wrong move.
I love basically that's how the negotiations went. Like, obviously that's behind closed doors. They went, listen, you need to apologise for what you said. And you went, no. They went, okay, well, you need to maybe not tweet about like political stuff. No. Okay, well, maybe could you just, be a little more careful about, no. All right, we got a deal. You're back in. Yeah. All right, come back in here, you little scamp.
I found it funny as well that some of the media were trying to spin that because there was a bump in numbers for the last match of the day.
Dan at HLTCO had like the fucking absolute peak quote on that.
What did he say?
So Nadine Dorris tweeted it, and he absolutely ratioed her.
I saw you say that. Yeah.
Well, for those of you that don't know what a ratio is, it's quite new in my repertoire.
I actually don't know what a ratio is.
It's actually quite new in my repertoire. So it's basically if you comment on a post on Facebook or a tweet, if you get more likes than the original comment, you've ratioed someone.
Right, okay.
And he ratioed the shit out of Nadine Dorris because she was like, oh, look, 500,000 viewers more. Like, fuck you guys. It clearly works. And he was just like...
It was rubbernecking, I think.
Well, he said lots of people slowed down to look at a car crash on a motorway, Nadine.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's it. And someone else I saw tweeted, this woman I follow who doesn't give a shit about football. And she's, that was part of her thing while the Gary Lineker thing was going on. She was like, I don't care about football, but... And she was like... Even I watched it. She was like, it's got nothing to do with the football. It's the drama.
Yeah.
It's just people tuning in for the drama.
As soon as I heard it had a bump,
done.
I was like, that's exactly what it was. Yeah. People would have been like, let's see how they've done it.
I mean, I was one of those numbers, but I didn't watch it.
No. And
I certainly wouldn't support it. If they went, right, we're doing it next week, it'd be like,
I mean, I didn't watch it because I was in bed. I was asleep.
No, you're cool. You're living a big life, champ. We get it.
Well, no, I just had to be up for work
we get it.
the next day, bro.
Some
of us have to work for a living. Do you know what I mean?
I try not to, where possible.
Yeah.
I've got to go back. I've had a week off.
Have you?
I've got to go back tomorrow.
Fucking hell.
I don't want to.
No one wants to after they've been off.
I'm so, like, I'm not a morning person anyway.
No.
Imagine me after a week off.
Having to get up for work.
That's going to hit hard. That is going to hit
You're going to be
hard.
The happiest man on the planet tomorrow morning.
Very approachable, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I imagine I will be...
All the annoying customers should head to Jake's shop tomorrow. They're going to get the best customer service ever.
Yeah, I definitely won't patronise you or tell you to fuck off.
No.
Without telling you to fuck off.
Yeah.
But anyway, let me just see if I've got anything else that I wanted to...
This conversation hasn't gone anything like I was expecting it to, and that's completely fine. I've not even looked at my notes, to be honest with you.
No. The thing as well that about Match of the Day, by the way, that ran for like 20 minutes and they just showed the highlights.
Yeah.
Did you see that weird guy that was like... Oh, did you see fucking GBBs did their alternative Match of the Day?
I heard they did, but I didn't.
Shocking. Honestly.
Didn't they make some homophobic comments or something?
Yeah, so what if you... Like, someone's clipped it together in like a minute 20 clip. Watch it. Imagine like the most secondhand embarrassment you've ever had in your life. Double it again, and you're probably not even close. It's so cringy. But one of them goes, he's like, well, Brighton. He says Gary Lineker probably quite like Brighton because it's just full of rainbow flags and woke.
Brighton's
lovely. He said woke people, and I had to listen to it 2 or 3 times. That's why I listened to it. I had to listen to it 2 or 3 times because I was like, did he say it's full of rainbow flags and white people? And then I was like, no, woke people. Woke people.
You would have thought they'd love it being full of white people.
And it's like, someone did point out, they were like, right, that's homophobic.
Yeah.
They were like, you've literally targeted it because you haven't picked it. You've picked it because it represents the gay community.
Yeah, it's known as the gay capital of the country, isn't it?
You've given the rainbow flag, you've deliberately picked that because it represents the gay community,
and you've mentioned it in a derogatory manner,
with negative connotations. Yeah.
So that is absolutely homophobic.
Yeah,
but it's not surprising from the channel it comes from. And was Mike Graham a part of it? I can imagine Mike Graham.
But one of the guys was like, it's great because it had all the goals. It's like, because Match of the Day never has all the goals. They usually just leave some out. It suddenly just jumps from like 1-1 to 3-2, and you're like, oh, I don't know what happened. And That's usually how Match of the Day runs. So it's very nice for them to get all the goals in this time. And he was like, yeah, and I can get to the pub for the last round. No one has ever sat at home watching Match of the Day and thought, all right, should we get down the pub and neck one?
Yeah.
Because it's closing in, come on.
If I'm at home at that time of the night, the chances of me leaving...
I'm not going back out.
It's just...
The only way I'm going back out, very possibly, to get food.
Yeah.
Very possibly.
Normally, if the situation for me would have been, we've been for a night out, we've got food on the way home, Match of the Day is just about to finish, you can start it again on the iPlayer.
Yeah.
And that would be how it would go. It wouldn't be like, oh yeah, let's go back out for another trip.
Look, for me, 20 minutes, which means there's normally the show runs for 90 minutes, which means there's normally 70 minutes of chat.
Yeah.
I would happily sit through all of it if it meant being on the right side of history.
Yeah.
Showing my support for
I think
Gary and the boys.
Yeah.
And the girls.
But no, well done to them.
Well done to us.
Why? What have we done?
We've discussed it brilliantly.
I think we have. We always discuss things brilliantly, bro.
I would say you've raised some excellent points.
You've done all right.
Yeah, we've really rammed home some goodies.
Yeah. Oh, I had a question I was going to ask you and it's gone now.
I believe they started in Detroit in the sort of late 80s.
It froze me even more.
Well, every time. Do you know what? I can't help it. It's always... Whenever I do it with my brother as well, whenever he asks a question, I always automatically, in my head, it goes to...
You go for a silly one.
No, I go for, do you know, in my band, the D12 Eminem song,
Yeah.
and he's like, she's the reporter's asking questions, and he's like,
Bitch,
I've got some questions, like, who are D12? How'd they get started? What about Eminem? Bitch, are you...
Yeah, you can't say that word.
No, I can say bitch, though.
Yeah.
She was a bitch. She was a hoe. For show.
Who's the misogynist now, Jack?
She was asking stupid questions. He literally said, he told her what to ask. Who are D12? How'd they get started? So for me, if someone says, I've got a question, I'm like, I know these questions. I'm not going to ask about Eminem.
Yeah.
I think people want to know about D12 and how they got started. Anyway, what was your question?
I don't know.
No, go on.
I actually don't know.
Did you not write it down?
No, it was just as we were talking,
planning.
a question came into my head and I was going to ask it and it's completely gone.
Do you have anything fun to end on?
I do. The other day, myself, my missus, and I think my mum and sister were having a conversation about what hand
That's
you
a lot
hold.
of women in the house, considering you don't like them.
I do like women. Just leave it there and then hang it.
I don't want to push it further.
What hand do you hold your knife and fork in?
What hand do I hold my knife? I tend to hold them in separate hands.
No, but
because I'm not a weirdo.
Normally, apparently, you're supposed to hold your fork in your non-dominant hand.
Which I do.
I don't, because I
hold my fork in my left hand and I cut with my right hand.
So you're an animal.
I'm an animal. You just said you're meant to hold it in your non-dominant hand.
That's what people say, but they're wrong.
Oh, right. Okay, so this is your... Right, okay, you're breaking it down. By the way, can I just say cutlery makes me think of one of the greatest insults I've ever heard.
What's that?
The Oasis thing, where Noel Gallagher was describing the anger of Liam Gallagher, and he described him as a man full of... he described him as a man with a fork in a world full of soup.
I like that. But what? So you're just retarded?
Apparently normal.
You eat retardedly?
Proper. I thought we said we couldn't say that.
Then I said it. I was about to say you then eat like a special person, but that somehow sounds worse.
For all the chat, like all the times we talk about, it's me that's going to get us cancelled. It's me that's going to get us. It's really it's you.
Yeah, but like I'm well intentioned.
But you can't say they can't say to someone like, oh, they used this word, and you went, yeah, but 5 minutes before he used it, he did say that we shouldn't use it. So.
It wasn't even 5 minutes.
No, it was about 5 seconds.
But yeah, so I hold a fork in my right hand.
But so you hold your knife in the left hand then?
Yeah.
And you're right-handed?
Mm-hmm.
So you cut with your...
No, I hold whatever it is I'm cutting with the fork with my right hand, and then I just cut.
Yeah, so you cut with your left hand?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
It's not.
It absolutely is.
It really isn't.
You're
the weird one.
You've told me that.
Like, because the thing is, you do the majority of the eating work with the fork, right?
Yeah. So
why would you have that in your non-dominant hand that you can't do as much with and you're not as
But
dexterous
cutting is a
with.
more complex task.
It's really
Moving-
not. It's a
moving
straight
something-
line going back and forth. What's complicated about that?
It's a sharp object. You're going to put that in your non-dominant hand.
What,
and
my
fuck
butter
around?
knife? I'm worried about stabbing someone with it.
It
am
could
I?
happen. It could happen. You scratch up the plate. You know what I'm saying? But like going from the plate to my mouth is a pretty simple exercise.
No, but
But
like,
the
if you're
complex
trying to
bits,
put
it's not just-
multiple things onto
It's
your
not just
fork.
cutting. Sometimes you want to like scoop something
Yeah,
up onto it.
again, that's not
Again,
difficult.
that's
That's just a back
But
and
you
forth
do that,
motion.
that's just mess. You go over your left hand, that's just a mess because you don't know what you're doing with it. You've got a
No,
nice
no,
control
what you're
on your right
describing
hand.
is what happens if you have the fork in your left hand.
No, because you got the fork is just staying still,
It's
and you're just moving things onto it. So
no, but then you need to lift it and put it in your mouth.
yeah, great, easy motion.
No.
But this I need control. I need to trust the hand that's
Well,
got the
clearly
knife
I'm
and the
more
scooping.
dexterous than you are that I can use my left hand.
Next time, right, when we do this taste testing,
Right.
you are going to do it the other way round,
I'm not.
and I will do it the other way round.
I have tried eating using the fork. I just cut it. The coordination ain't there for it.
Yes, how is the... But that's the wrong way to be.
It's not though, because the way I look at it, you put your fork in the food, knife down, back and forth, we're done.
Fork.
And then, like you said, for scooping stuff on, it's exactly the same. I hold it steady with the right and just a sweep in motion, bro. Or scooping with both.
All you're doing there with your strong hand is holding things steady. That doesn't need to be your strong hand. There's
It
no
does.
there's no dexterity there
Because,
from holding steady.
I mean, like, look, I'm a big guy, man. I put a lot on my fork. You need to have a steady
you've got
hand.
you've got a big fork.
No, just standard size.
What? Okay, so you did this with 3 other people.
Yeah.
What were their positions on this?
Leanne's the same as me.
All right, weird, cool, makes sense.
My mum called us weird, and I
Yep,
feel
not
like my sister
smart
was
woman.
the same
As
as
me.
us.
See, and now I don't know if I want her on the pod. Now there's little
Only
red
because you'd be in the fork holding
There's-
minority.
There's little red flags here that are suggesting that she's not a normal human
Typical
being.
of a white, cisgendered, straight man wants to be in the majority.
Typical of a professional consummate broadcaster. Says his words completely and fully without mistake.
Yeah,
But you're wrong.
I'm not wrong.
You are wrong on this.
I'm not.
And you said it. You said that's how you're meant to do it. Is
According to my mum. My mum's not the expert.
what? I thought you meant you found like a.
No, it's just what
I
my
thought you
mum
meant like
said.
a website or something that said
My
it.
mum said we're wrong, or that we eat weirdly.
I mean, you do.
We don't. You've been for meals with me. Have you ever noticed that I'm throwing food everywhere because I can't control my left hand?
You've been familiar with me. Do I ever look up?
Yes.
Once I start eating,
You've eyed me up at
I
the dinner
start
table
eating.
before.
Well, I felt you up.
Yeah, and look me. up.
I can't, from just putting my leg up from putting my foot up your inner thigh, I can't gauge how many peas are flying around.
Wait, 1 second. 1 second. Say that. Wait. Oh, fuck's sake, my fingers are too big.
Do you know what? Now I'm going to find out how good of an actor I am. Right? Take 2. You ready?
Say it again.
What was my line?
Foot up the inner thigh.
Okay. Yes, but I've been feeding you up. So me running my foot up your inner thigh,
Mama like that. Mama like that.
I'm going to listen to that back.
Seamless.
And if that was as good as I think it was, I'm going to call some agencies
Yeah.
and I'm going to see if they want me to do some acting.
I think you should go for it, bro.
I think I should too. I
Yeah.
think
What roles do you think you should be put up for?
probably big ones.
Of course.
Probably leads.
No, but like, so what sort of films would you like to be in? Or TV shows?
I'll tell you what I would like to be in.
We're talking comedies,
Genuinely,
actions,
if I was going to get
rom-coms?
into acting as like a movie actor,
Yeah.
I would not, as much as there are some fun stuff from them like this. I'd love to do something with a bit of stunt work where I could do the stunts.
That's a
But
mistake.
if they're gonna make the stuntman do it, forget about it. Right. But
So
for all
you
the
would
big-
reject being James
for all
Bond if
the
there was a
big-
stuntman
oh,
involved?
Yeah, I'll be like, I can
You
do
have
that.
to do it all
I
yourself.
can do that.
So like the scenes like in the Casino Royale film, for example, when they're jumping from crane to crane.
Yep.
You're up for all of that.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, the
Mate,
it's camera
imagine
trickery. The
First
crane's not
day
that
on
high.
set, you're on the crane. You're like, yeah, I've got this. I've got it. Dead.
I imagine first day on set, I'm just standing there being like, this is such a mistake. I really backed myself into a corner here.
Just imagine being in that situation, being like, how did this even
Imagine I
happen?
get through it. I'm really proud. I'm like absolutely buzzing. And they
Yeah.
turn around and they go, look, we had to cut the free running sequence. I'm like, what? I was such a good no, because it's not cool for James Bond to run like he shit himself
And to cry.
and to get to the edge and then kind of go, okay, do this. Ready,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. No, come on, okay, come on, here we go. Apparently that's not cool.
No.
But no, I wouldn't want to do anything like big CGI. I'd want to be real.
So you
I'd
wouldn't want to be in Marvels or...
I'd want to be with someone. I'd want to be acting with someone. I'd want to be acting with things. I'd want to be able to interact with my environment. What
Right.
about you?
I just think I could do it all. Maybe not necessarily...
Oh, yeah, I could.
Like,
But that wasn't the question. It's what would you want to do?
I like the idea of gritty dramas. I think I could be Batman as well.
Doing your own stunts?
I'm not married to the idea. They can
Can
give
I
me...
do your stunts? I know there's a bit of a height difference.
Do you know what? Why not? I'm on board with it. No, you can be my Alfred.
Imagine that. It's funny for all the...
You're my Alfred.
I mean, I'd take it.
Yeah.
But do you imagine that? Like, they're like, it's really weird, but for all the action sequences...
I didn't even give you Robin. I said you could be my...
Batman was like in the really far distance, it looked like. Looked like he was really far away for all the important action
just put
shots.
you in, give you
I'd
some
be
lifts.
Alfred.
Just give you some lifts.
Yeah, I don't think it's against the law for Batman to work in pumps.
No, I don't see why not.
He can slay.
He does.
And your Batman will slay.
He will. Just non-stop. Yeah.
Slay Queen.
I always slay Queen.
You do always slay. I've known
I need to
you
get
a
that
long
soundbite
time, and
for
I've
the
never
pod.
known you to
You're
not
not
slay.
a Rick and Morty fan, are you?
I love Rick and Morty. I haven't watched it for like 2 seasons.
Because there's a line from it where he's like, I always slay Queen.
Is that from one of the newer episodes?
I don't think so.
I can't remember.
I think Summer says something to him like, I always slay Queen. And then...
Because I absolutely loved Rick and Morty. And then I kind of went off the... Well, there's not going to be any Rick and Morty now, is there?
No,
Well,
I think
they're
they're
still
going to have to
making but without Justin Roiland, who
Yeah.
ironically is Rick and Morty
yeah.
and all the side characters.
There'll be someone else.
It's going to be interesting.
There'll be someone
I think
else
they
who
should
can
just get someone who cannot do an impression and just let them do it. Just like someone who comes in and just kind of goes, hey, Morty, it's like me, Rick, and then cut to Morty.
Rick.
Cut to Morty, and they're just like, hey, Rick, it's me, Morty. I think that is the replacement.
Yeah, I think you should do it.
Yes, do you know what we've established that?
But
it's
sorry,
too
you're
much.
too good at impersonations.
So
That's out the window.
I know people probably thought that, and they were like, "Well, did they put a clip of Rick and Morty in?"
Yeah.
No, but that is my dream. Like that's how I do it. Someone doing, sort of half doing an impression, but sound nothing like them.
Mm. I like the idea of a period piece.
For Rick and Morty. Oh, for you as an
Yeah.
actor.
For me.
Yeah, do you know what? I'd love to try out all the outfits and stuff and see what I'd have looked like as like a
Yeah.
lord in the 17th century or something.
Like calling someone a cunt, but in like old English would be amazing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you despicable
Slapping
despot.
someone with a glove. I demand satisfaction.
And do you know what though? That is how you keep a happy wife.
What, by slapping her
Slap her with a
glove?
glove and demanding satisfaction.
Again, you call me the misogynist.
I know, but it's not misogyny because she's your wife.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, that's what Stanley Johnson said.
I actually thought I'd get away with that with a straight face then. But I really...
It's
Yeah, it
just
was only a
Stanley
one-off.
Johnson.
It was a one-off.
It's just Stanley Johnson.
Like I've only slapped my wife once.
That'd be
it's a
great.
one-off.
That'd be your acting name.
What, Johnson?
Jake Johnson.
Jake Johnson. Unfortunately, there actually is a Jake Johnson. So I'd be...
And that doesn't matter.
No, in the Actors Guild, you can't have the same... I'd have to get like an initial or something or a middle name.
Really?
Yeah. Like, do you know a lot of the ones that go by
so if I
stage
became
names?
an actor, I can't be known as Andrew Scott because there's a prick out there called Andrew Scott who's been in the James Bond
you'd
films.
have to give yourself like a middle
I'd
name.
have to be Andrew N. Scott.
Or choose a different name. Like a lot of the actors that go
That's
by like stage
horrendous.
names, the reason they go by stage names is because there's already someone registered with the Actors Guild who has their name.
Oh, I did not know that. Well, you learn something new every day, folks.
Listen, that's what I'm here for, education.
Yeah, and misogyny.
A little bit of misogyny.
Yeah.
Mostly
Never
education.
hurt anyone except
And do
Stanley
you know what?
Johnson's wife.
If women were better at learning, there'd be less misogyny.
Yeah,
All right, so it wasn't a one-off.
never
And
is.
it never is.
Right. Well,
I just like to be clear that when we were talking about acting, I was playing a character
yeah.
who's a bit of a misogynist.
Yeah.
So it was a role.
You've done that for the whole episode. It's quite
acting,
impressive.
the whole series, the whole run of the podcast.
For the last few years, in fact.
For the whole run of the podcast.
Yeah. Do you know, it's funny. Since I met you, you must
I
have
mean,
been playing a
this
role.
character is just a long game.
It's
It's a
incredible.
long game.
Yeah, I like it. But guys, if you want to write to us about Jake's misogyny, last week it was his human rights abuses. This week it's misogyny. You can do so on all platforms, but I'm going to give you the addresses because I'm amazing like that. They will be on the bottom of the screen as Jake is designating there. You can do so at Facebook at Crossing Swords, on Twitter at Swords Crossing. You can do it on TikTok and Insta at CrossingSwords_podcast, and you can email us at CrossingSwords19@gmail.com.
Yeah, we've discussed a lot. I'd like to know your thoughts on the whole Lineker thing on Match of the Day, but more than anything, I would like to know how you hold your cutlery.
Yeah.
So when you eat, okay, like I'm not gonna,
go for it.
When you eat like a dessert or something, when you eat with a spoon.
With my right.
Yeah, okay, but I'll go with my right.
So you swap hands?
I don't swap hands. I only have one spoon. I'm not two spooning it. What kind of maniac do you think I am? Do you think I'm still holding my fork?
No. But
just in case something comes up.
When you're eating with a knife and fork, what's the main utensil? It's a fork.
No, but I'll tell you this though. If I'm eating like a dessert where you have a fork and a spoon.
Yeah. What hand does the fork go in?
Dominant hand. Because the spoon's the main utensil there. The fork's doing all the dexterity.
Mine would actually be the reverse.
Yeah, exactly. But mine
would be spoon in the right, fork in the left.
At least we're consistent.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's weird because you've gone from your main utensil is the fork for normal food, right? And that's in your left hand.
Well, I think all the dexterity is being done with a knife. And then for the dessert, all the dexterity is being done with the fork. The spoon just scoops up.
Mental.
This is going to go on. I want to know what you
guys think. When you eat
think.
cereal?
When I just drink it. Just straight from the bowl.
That checks out. I just put my face in.
Yeah. You don't even need to waste time.
Like a trough.
There are some foods let's not mess around with.
Wow.
Good stuff, right?
Yeah. So, like, if you have a Chinese,
Yep.
quickly, what do you eat it with?
Fork and spoon? Knife and fork.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't use a spoon?
No. But I appreciate I'm a bit of a weirdo with that one.
Yeah, because I just, like, particularly if you've got rice and stuff, a fork
I do.
and knife and fork just
job.
don't. No, it doesn't.
No, a spoon's more efficient, but and you know.
No, but with a spoon, you can get a bit of everything on the spoon. With the fork, you're just getting.
To get that last bit of like rice or anything, prawn cracker. As like a substitute edible spoon.
A prawn cracker's like throughout the meal. It's not a finishing touch.
But you have a few at the end, and then you can just scoop up whatever you need.
That's just what the spoon's for, bro.
I don't need a spoon.
You wouldn't eat soup with a fork.
I'd give it a bloody good go.
You just get angry.
But look, I didn't realise this was going to be such a thing.
No, but that's
congratulations.
That's why I thought add it to the.
You've been slacking for a while, but the ideas man has come through there. That's a solid idea.
I always slay queen.
You always slay queen.
Yeah. And that's what I say about when people ask, can I do Queen karaoke?
You always slay queen.
Yeah, it just works in so many different ways.
I also slay queen at karaoke. Very different meaning of the word.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I butcher Killer Queen.
Yeah. I just remember being on a stag do and we did Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me together. And one of our mutual friends just afterwards went, mate, you smashed that. And I was like, I know. You just went, yeah. To be fair, a certain amount of alcohol had been consumed at that point. Yeah. But I genuinely looked him in the eyes and I was like, yeah, I know. I know I smashed that.
Yeah. You don't
I felt it in
you
the
don't
moment,
deliver
though.
a performance like that without knowing you delivered a performance like that.
But I was very quickly upstaged because the next person who sang was someone who sang one of the most haunting renditions of a song I've ever heard in my life, which was Zombie. And I'd never heard the song before. And this girl with just a phenomenal voice like just appeared out of nowhere and just
and then fucked off after.
And I just remember we were all going mental, like we're all really drunk, having a good time, and then she started singing and we all just stood there and stared at her. It was quite genuinely.
I do remember there being a thing. It was like nothing was said, but there was so clearly a thing that went around the room that was like,
Shit.
no one can follow that. Like, no one wants to get up and sing after that.
Fair dues, I think Alan afterwards got up and did tribute,
Alan
didn't
would.
he?
Alan's a G.
And like,
Alan's a Don.
yeah, he is. We need to have him on here at some point.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
I said that quite like, yeah.
Yeah, all right,
fine.
whatever.
Yeah, whatever, man.
We've got an ever-growing list of people we want to get on.
Yeah, and it's not getting any shorter.
No.
But it does get shorter when it's cold. Just remember that. And it is
Mine
cold
doesn't.
right now.
Mine's just big all the time.
It's just always big. It's so
Always.
cumbersome.
That's why I'm called Big.
Big Daddy Big.
Big Daddy Big.
Big Daddy Big. I will bring up Big Daddy Big in every episode from now until the end of time.
As you should. He deserves it.
He does deserve it. And you know what? I got through the whole thing without even the temptation to ask you to play the Ariana DeBose.
I thought about playing it for you, and I don't know if I should.
Because it's still in my head. Like, it hasn't left
Is
my
it?
head.
Would you like me to?
Yes, please. Love it. Absolutely love it.
It's awful. I don't know what you love about it so much.
It's just, it occupies a space up here. Like, right now, there
Do
are
you
probably
walk
some...
around, complete a job and go, Jake did the thing?
No, because I didn't do a thing.
But you just did do a thing.
I don't know if I did the thing. I didn't do the thing. No, but right, there's probably like relatives that I don't know the name of because that is
Yeah.
taking up vital space. Do you know what I mean? I would probably, if we did, you know, when we were doing lockdown quizzes,
Yeah,
if we did one of them lockdown quizzes now, I'd probably score fewer points
yeah.
because that is taking up valuable space.
I mean,
up
just
here.
look, you're prepped for if anyone in a quiz says who did the thing.
I'm there. I'm all over it.
Yeah, guaranteed. Could you imagine if you were like, oh, fuck, I actually can't remember.
I'm just listing everyone I know.
Viola Davis.
Woman King.
I know. That was a joke.
I know, but you can't. That's a trigger. You can't say that and not expect
And
me
look,
to follow
Jamie
up.
Lee, she's won an Oscar, hasn't she?
Yes, she's best supporting actor for Everything Ever All at Once.
Yeah.
But she's all of us.
She is all of us.
Oh, it's a great way to end.
It
I
is.
know it doesn't feel like a great way to end because for most people they don't give a shit about that clip.
No.
But for me, that is very much the centre of my universe.
Yeah.
I would say I've just reset my life to it.
Mm.
Play it one more time.
Angela Bassett did the thing.
Do the thing.
All right, take care, guys.
Bye, guys.